Alright, looks like we got Trig lecture 11.4 and 11.5 this morning. Get my coffee here. That's good. Okay, the student will find a coterminal angle. We talked about coterminal angles in our last lecture and defined them. I'll go ahead and define them again. We're looking for a coterminal angle that measures between 0 and 2 pi this time. So what that means is that our angle of rotation is going to be in radians instead of degrees. So what we're going to do is convert the radians to degrees, determine the rotation, and then find an angle between 0 and 2 pi that will stop in the exact same place. That will have the same terminal side. If two angles in standard position have the same terminal side, they're said to be coterminal. That's what we talked about in the last lecture, the exact same wording. For each angle, find a coterminal angle between 0 and 2 pi. So that just tells me I'm going to be in radians instead of 0 and 360 degrees. That's just one rotation. 0 and 2 pi, again, is just one rotation because 2 pi is 360 degrees. 2 pi radians is 360 degrees. So here we go. We're given negative 23 pi over 10 radians. We want to find a coterminal angle that's between 0 and 2 pi. So what I would do initially is just change it to degrees. I'm going to get my handy dandy pocket brain here so I can make as few mistakes as possible. And here we go. I'm going to cancel my pi's. And that will be 23 times 180 divided by 10 equals 414. That'll be negative 414 degrees. And let me do that again just to make sure. 23 times 18 equals 414. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is rotate negative 414 degrees. There's my y-axis, x-axis, origin. I'm going to rotate in a negative direction. There's negative 360 degrees. Again, this is just the terminal side. Here's my initial side right here. We're determining the position of our terminal side by just rotating it negative 414 degrees. We're at 360. And then to add another 90, we go 450. So I'm going to go another, from 360 be 54 degrees to get to 414, making this angle 54 degrees. And this is negative 414. What I'm looking for now is this angle, same initial side, but positive rotation, stopping in the same place. Okay, so this indicates the direction of the rotation of the terminal side. That's all it does. And this indicates the same thing. This is just an indicator that tells me which direction we're rotating this terminal side and how far. So we've got this angle of 54 degrees. I want to find this angle. So this is 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270. If this is 54 right here, then this would have to be what, 36? Let me do that to make sure. 90 minus 54 equals. This would be a 36 degree angle. So that's 270 plus 36. And again, it's early in the morning, so I'm not going to trust my brain. That's 306 degrees. My coterminal angle is 306 degrees. But I want it represented between 0 and 2 pi, so I'm going to convert 306 degrees to radians. And we do that by multiplying by pi over 180 and reducing. So I'll just do that right here. Got to do it somewhere. 360 times pi over 180. You can think of this as being over 1. And I'm going to start dividing. That's 306 divided by 2 equals 3, it'd be 153. My brain isn't working. 90. And 153. That'd be, I can divide both of those by 3. 51 pi over 30, I believe. And those will both divide by 3. 51 divided by 3, 17, I believe. Oops. 51 divided by 3 is, 17 pi. Divide that by 3. 17 pi over 10. So, for each given angle, find a coterminal angle between 0 and 2 pi. That coterminal angle would be 17 pi over 10. Get it right here. That's my answer. Hopefully that's correct. I'll check before I post this. Okay, so what did I do? I said, well, I'm going to convert this angle to degrees and rotate. So I rotated in a negative direction. Found out that I'd stop right here, which is 54 degrees below. And that gave me a 36-degree angle here. I said, well, what would my positive rotation be? So I rotated not full 360 degrees, determined that would be 306 degrees, then converted that back to radians by multiplying by pi over 180 and reducing. And my reducing was kind of clumsy, but I eventually got to 17 pi over 10. And I'm pretty sure that's right. Let's take a look at another one. 13 pi over 3. I want to figure out what the rotation is in degrees. This will give me 13 times 180 divided by 3. It's one way of doing it, 780 degrees. Let me make sure that I didn't make any mistakes there. Okay, so let's take a look at that. We're doing the same thing. We're going to rotate 780 degrees, 780, XY origins. My initial side is the positive x-axis, and I'm going to rotate in a positive direction 780 degrees. So here I go. If I rotate all the way around, I've got this ray that's a 360 degree angle. I'm looking for 780. Well, 360, if I go around again and stop in the same place, now I've rotated 360, 720. I've got 60 more degrees to go. So there is approximately 780 degrees right here. What I want to know is what would this degree, what would that be right there? That's going to be my coterminal angle. Rotating in a positive direction. What would this have to be? Well, this was 360, 720, and then I had to go another 60. So I rotated from here 60 degrees. So this would have to be 60. And 60 degrees, we can do that pretty easily, convert it to radians. It'll be 60. Scooch this up so it'll be a little easier to see. 60 times pi over 180. And you can think of this as being over 1. And these will both reduce pretty easily. It's easy to see they'll both divide by 60. If I divide that by 60, it turns into a 1. Divide that by 60, it turns into a 3. So this will be pi over 3 radians. And that is my coterminal angle. So I'll put that right over here. I'll bring it up where it's easy to see. It's my solution, and put a big box around it. I'm getting kind of sloppy here in my old age. Everything's falling apart on me. Whang. There we go. There's my angle. There's a coterminal angle to this angle. And it's between 0 and 2 pi. And that means it's not more than one rotation. 2 pi radians is a full rotation. It's 360 degrees. All right. let's do two more. Negative 10 pi over 3. I told you I was going to eventually get around to showing you how to count in radians. I'll do that this time. If you don't like it, you can convert to degrees and then convert back to radians if you want. So let's count by radians instead of converting to degrees this time. There's my y-axis, x-axis, origin. My initial side is going to be the positive x-axis right there. And I want to rotate in a negative direction 10 pi over 3. Well, remember that pi radians is 180 degrees. 2 pi radians is 360 degrees. So if I have 10 pi over 3, well, here's negative, I'm going in a negative direction, 3 pi over 3. That's pi. 3 pi over 3 is pi, so that's negative pi. Here's 6 pi over 3. That's 2 pi. I've gone full rotation. This terminal side has now rotated 360 degrees, or 2 pi radians, which is 6 pi over 3. And then I want to go to 10 pi over 3, so I'll go another 3 pi over 3. That's 9 pi over 3. And then one more pi over 3. Well, that's 1/3 of the way. Pi radians is 180 degrees. So I'm going to go 1/3 of the distance, which is be right about here. And that would be negative 10 pi over 3 if I've counted it correctly. And now I want to find this angle, the coterminal angle. Well, if this is pi over 3 radians right here, I had to go an extra 10 pi over 3 to get to 10 pi over 3. Here's 3 pi over 3, 6 pi over 3, 9 pi over 3, one more pi over 3. So this angle right here is pi over 3. If this is 3 pi over 3, this would be 2 pi over 3. Remember, 3 pi over 3 would be pi radians. I'm going to make that a little bigger. That's our answer. You probably might be a little bit confused about what we did there, but I'll explain it. And again, as I said, if you don't like the idea of counting by radians, you can always convert to degrees like we did in these two. Convert to degrees, and then determine where the terminal side is going to lie, then determine the degrees for the coterminal angle, and then convert that back to radians. You can do it that way, or you can do it by just counting by radians, remembering that 180 degrees is pi, 360 degrees is 2 pi radians, and if we're given thirds of pi's, we've got 10 thirds of pi. You say, well, here's 3/3 right here, negative 3/3, because 3/3 is 1 pi, negative 3/3, negative 6/3, negative 9/3, negative 10/3. And so our coterminal angle would have to be, the full rotation would be 3/3, but I'm stopping pi over 3 short of that, so that would make it 2/3 pi, or 2 pi over 3. That's counted by radians. And here's our answer. Let's do another one counting by radians. You might like it, you might not like it. It's a little bit quicker. We'll go ahead and graph this just by counting by radians, and then find the coterminal side. Here's my y-axis, my x-axis, my origin, and I'm going to rotate in a positive direction this time. And here's my initial side. I'm going to rotate 9 pi over 4. Well, remember that 4 pi over 4 is pi. If I say 4 pi over 4, that's pi. So if I rotate 4 pi over 4, that's pi radians, which is 180 degrees. Pi radians is 180 degrees, 2 pi radians is 360 degrees. So if I rotate 4 pi over 4, that's pi radians. If I rotate 4 more pi over 4, that takes me to 8 pi over 4, which is 2 pi. I've got to go 1 more pi over 4. Well, that's 1/4 of the way to 180 degrees. 1/4 pi is 1/4 of 180, which is right here, roughly. So there's our rotation of 9 pi over 4. That's a 9 pi over 4 rotation. And what I want is an angle that has the same stopping place and the same initial side, but only a rotation between 0 and 2 pi, which is 360 degrees. So I'm looking for this rotation right here, just from here to here. And that would be, if this is 4 pi over 4, 8 pi over 4, and then 9 pi over 4, this right here is 1 pi over 4 rotation. So that's our coterminal angle, pi over 4. That'll be our answer. Pi over 4 radians is coterminal with 9 pi over 4. That's counting by radians. And again, if you don't like to count by radians, if that doesn't make any sense at all, convert this to degrees, rotate it, stop here, then find the coterminal angle, and then convert it back to radians, just like we did on the first two. But you can count by radians. I hope that made sense. I'll turn this off and make sure, I'll go through it again, make sure I haven't made any mistakes. Best of luck. You can do this.